Hi guys, and welcome to your reading. So today I'm going to be doing a reading inspired by the Tarot Journey. And as you probably know, the very first card in the Tarot Journey in the major arcana is the Fool. The Fool stands for new beginnings and such. So what we'll be looking at is what new things are in front of you, maybe challenges, maybe adventures. We'll see what your current situation is, what might be at risk if you go ahead with this adventure or challenge, what you're currently relying on, what you might need to keep in mind, so a warning and things like that, as well as what will help you and what can you trust on this journey. So to begin with, I'm going to be pulling 3 cards to act as signifier cards that you can select from and go to the reading that calls to you. You might have picked the reading based on the thumbnail already. Well, that was disastrous. But moving on. So you might have sort of trying to make sure the shuffling sounds don't overpower what I'm saying. You might have picked your power based on the thumbnail, in which case feel free to go ahead and go to the pile that calls to you. Otherwise, we will be looking at 3 cards and some crystals as well. Sometimes when I try to separate a deck into 3 parts, it tends to try to separate into more. There we go. Those will be the 3 piles. And let me make sure that they're actually sort of centered. Okay. So for the first pile, the significator card is going to be the 4th house with home. For pile 2, it will be relationships in reverse. And for pile 3, it will be vision in reverse. Okay. As for your crystals, I am already noticing that these cards are very sort of similar to each other in their coloring and such. So what we're going to do is for pile number 1, we're going to go with purple lepidolite. I don't use this crystal very often, so I'm not extremely familiar with it. For pile number 2, we have rose quartz. It might look clear to you at the moment. Apologies if that's the case. This is most definitely pink quartz or rose quartz. And for the last group, we're going to go with the light. Okay. So these are the piles and the crystals. As I mentioned, if you already know which pile you want to go with based on the thumbnail, or if you're happy to select from the cards in front of us or the crystals, then I'll meet you at your reading. The timestamps can be found below. Hi, pile number 1. Your significator card is the 4th house with home, and your crystal is the purple lepidolite. So another deck that we will be using for you is the Everyday Tarot from Biddy Tarot, sort of going with the color scheme. So I will be pulling 6 cards from both of these decks to tell us about what we need to know. While I'm pulling the cards, if you think about what new adventures you are excited to try, what new things you're looking forward to. As this might be helpful in sort of gauging the energy. I'll be pulling 6 cards as mentioned. So another thing that I will also say is I follow Weekly Moon Magic Tarot as well. She's an extremely lovely tarot reader, one of the best ones that I had a chance to watch a reading from. Apologies if you can hear the background noise. There seems to be some cars racing outside. But back to tarot. So I believe the creator's name is Jenny. And Jenny does sort of a monthly moon update. And in her update, she mentioned that the day that this reading goes up, I think that's the 16th of February, if I got my dates correctly, is actually a point of power. One of those happens every month. So this might be significant in some sort of way. And I think it's really good moment to do a new beginnings reading, just because obviously we all would like to start a new adventure on a strong note, right? Now I'm intrigued to know, what is it about home that we will find out in this reading, because home isn't usually what we associate with new adventure, but and I don't want to guess, but I'm curious what this would mean for you. Now, in terms of the bottom of the deck energy from both of the decks, we have Gemini with cross pollinate. So this is all about working together or being a part of a group, understanding that we're all part of a bigger whole, as well as Page of Pentacles with this sort of energy of a new beginning. Okay. So, to begin with, we have a card that describes what the new beginning actually is, or what the challenges that you might be facing. So we have the 11th house with community. And we also have the world. All right. An interesting combination. I'm just trying to make sure that you can see these. Okay. So, community being in reverse and I'm being drawn, I have never noticed this. There is a hand here, sort of behind the mandala, trying to grip it. So, the challenge of the new beginning might be to do with finding your place in the world, which is why the community is in reverse, and we've got a world. The world. The fourth house talks about creating a home and being able to carry the feeling of home with you. And as I just mentioned, cross-pollinate is all about working with others. So I think that's what we're looking at, finding not only your place in a community, but probably also finding somewhere where you feel fulfilled, mm, feel whole with the world. So what can we find out about this? In terms of where you're currently at, we have Juno with partnership, and we also have Nine of Swords. Right, okay. Now, Juno talks about partnerships, but it doesn't always talk about healthy relationships. In fact, I always get the sense from this card that it's sort of a tricky energy because it talks about a relationship between Juno and her husband, a relationship that was filled with problems, and they were still able to make it work and so on. But generally speaking, it was a rather toxic relationship. So this makes me wonder whether you feel like your place in the world is in question somehow because of a relationship that you're in. Nine of Swords is a card of sort of staying up at night, nightmares, stress, feeling overwhelmed, and so on. You might be in quite a lot of negative energy at the moment. And I wonder whether this is what is causing it. Or it doesn't have to be a relationship, it could be a situation at home with the 11th house having three hands on it. It could be a third party situation. It could also be that you are in some sort of way different than the people around you, and this is causing a problem. Or rather, obviously not you being different causing the problem, but the people's reaction to you might be at the heart of the problem. Yeah, I wonder if it's about the fact that you feel like you're a part of a bigger whole. And this could either mean that you feel like you belong to your current community and your current relationship, or it could just mean that you know deep down that you are a part of the world and you deserve the best, just like everybody else. And the current situation with some sort of toxicity around you, it could also be a toxic friendship, or it could be conflict with a sibling. Maybe this is making you feel like you know that this is unfair. So it's making you feel off kilter. Okay. For the risk, what's the risk in the situation? We have future in reverse with the North Node and Knight of Wands. Okay. The Knight of Wands is a very ambitious but also hot-headed energy. And he is facing the past. He's facing this Nine of Swords. It feels like the risk here is that you might be galloping towards a situation that you don't want to be in. It could be that if you get into it too far, then it's going to impact your future. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little bit of a like horseshoe symbol on here, which tells me that things can um, things can be good if but this person is turned away from the horseshoe. So maybe you're not seeing something about your future that actually would be very lucky. And the risk here is that if you don't believe that your future is optimistic and holds promise, then you might move deeper into this those negative feelings. Now, as this video is going up, it's going up after Valentine's Day as well. I've just realized. So, is there something that happened that sort of has you down in the dumps? I don't know, maybe. Either way, the risk here really is that if you follow your passions and your impulses, then it might have a negative impact on what's going to happen in the future. So I guess this is something to keep in mind. However, moving on to other things, we do have a couple of other sort of harsh things to look into, and then we'll finish on a positive note. But first off, we've got foundations and things that you're relying on, but also things that you're leaving behind. And for that, we have second house with resources, and we also have Four of Wands. So this is interesting. When it comes to resources, we do talk about material abundance and things like that. So you might be relying on someone financially, for example. You might be sharing a home with someone and wondering what would happen if you were to remove yourself from the situation. The Four of Wands is a more interesting one because it normally represents a short-lived celebration, something that when the celebration is over, we move into the Five of Wands, which could be conflict. Now, considering in that context, um, it's it's possible that what you're leaving behind is a bit of a party lifestyle. Maybe the current situation is that your community that you don't feel like you belong in is made up of people who like to party. And if whoever you're sharing your house with, it could be housemates, for example. If you're sharing your home with them and they sort of have a lot of parties and celebrations, it might be something that you want to step away from if you want a little bit more of a peaceful day-to-day existence. It does obviously it sort of holds two sides to this, where if there's celebrations and if the resources are all tangled together, and if you're in a partnership with someone, it could be difficult to step away from the community. But if you feel that this is the best thing for you, then you should go ahead and do it. Okay. Now, on the last sort of harsh note, we're going to look at a warning to keep in mind moving forward. And this is Scorpio with investigate in reverse and King of Wands. Okay. Okay. So Scorpio with investigate in reverse tells me that you should be careful about not looking into things further. Now, you can also see the sort of the coloring of these two cards matches. So I would strongly encourage you to carefully think about the relationship that you might be in right now and investigate whether this is the right fit for you or not. It might be. It may absolutely be. Maybe there's some issues that could be talked through, things like that. Or maybe it's not the right fit for you. It could sting. With the King of Wands in reverse, this is talking about a charismatic leader who's using their charisma and confidence for bad purposes. So this could be someone who is manipulating others around them. This could be someone who is a little bit self-centered, things like that. So what I would encourage you to do is consider the people around you and whether any of them are like this. Is anybody around you focused on their own good ahead of everything and everybody else? If so, do they impact you? Think through things carefully and examine what you see. I would also strongly encourage you to consider what people do rather than what people say, because the actions are going to show you who people are rather than their words. And it could be that someone is really good with words, but doesn't necessarily follow through. I mean, we have this Nine of Swords and the anxiety here for some reason. It's coming from somewhere. Now, with all of this considered, and the fact that it could have to do with your home situation or your community or with partnerships, close relationships, how sort of it could impact you in the future, how the resources are involved, and how you should sort of consider what's happening. This does seem like a very difficult situation. I'm not gonna lie. But I can tell you from personal experience that you've got this. The only thing that helps in those kinds of situations is making a plan and following through with your plan. It might be a plan of how you're going to leave the situation, for example. However, we still have the last bit of the reading to do. And this is about what will help or what you can trust. And it's Chiron with healing in reverse and Five of Swords. Okay. What you can rely on without fail, and I wish I had sort of more positive things to say, but what you can rely on without any doubt is that people only change when they want to change, and that hurt people. So, for example, if someone has had some issue in the past and now they are taking it out on you, for example, then it's not fair. But until they work through their own issues, they will continue behaving that way. What I'm seeing here is that it's not your responsibility to attempt to help them and heal them if they are not doing that by themselves. You can't make them. If you have a look at this Five of Swords is a card of conflict, but swords are also a very logical suit. So it's about making a logical decision rather than relying on feelings. But this person is grabbing a sword, as in, I'm gonna take my stuff and leave, um, and step away from the situation. So I'd say that's your guidance. If you've been questioning whether things are going to change, I wouldn't recommend relying on it. Mm, but I think you have sort of a youthful energy to you, and you want to start something new. I also think that you know deep down that you're a part of a bigger community. And so, because of that, you're going to be okay. It did seem like a little bit of a tough love kind of reading, and it seems like your new beginning is focused around deciding whom and what you're going to leave behind. But I do hope this was somehow helpful to you. I'd love to hear about, obviously, if it's appropriate and so on. I would love to hear about your situation in the comments. Um, if this reading was helpful to you, then obviously, if it was helpful to you, please feel free to like and comment and subscribe and all of those things. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hi, pile number two. Welcome to your reading. So today, as mentioned in the intro, we're going to be looking at a new situation or a challenge in your life. I did feel called to use only this deck for you for some reason, but we're going to double up. So your significator card is the relationships in reverse, and your crystal is the rose quartz. It is actually rose, it's just the color balance of my camera. I will be working on this in the future. So while I'm pulling cards, if you think about sort of a new beginning or a challenge that you're currently facing, I think that would be very helpful. We're going to be looking at some positive and negative aspects of that new adventure, things that you might need to be aware of, but also things that may help. Just as a pre-warning, in pile one, the reading did come through as a little bit of a tough love, so just be prepared for that. Hopefully it's going to be absolutely fine. There we go. Okay, I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, just because these cards are quite big, and we have quite a few things to cover in this reading. So I'm going to try to fit them all in, but it might be just a little bit of a struggle. We'll see how we go. You won't be able to see this. Okay. Okay. It's going to have to do. The bottom of the deck energy for you is Scorpio in reverse with Investigate. This card also popped out in pile number one, and their reading was very relationship centered, so it could be something of interest to you as well. I'm going to jump straight into the reading because you have rose quartz, which represents either relationships or self-love, and two cards that sort of have very similar energy to pile number one. So I don't want to jump in and start guessing. I'd like to get the feel for what is actually happening here. So we have, what is the new adventure or challenge for you? And we have progressions with journey. And we also have opposition with confrontation. Wow, okay. So let me hold them up for now. The journey card talks about big changes. It's basically it's the last card of this deck. So it's similar to the world card in a tarot deck. In reverse, it suggests to me that there is changes that are going to be happening. It sort of has a similar energy as the world card and the tower card combined, because the new is going to come, and the best thing that you can do at the moment is to let things fall as they may. And it seems to me that maybe in it being reversed, you are currently resisting some sort of a transition. In terms of confrontation, it might be that you are either not wanting to participate in confrontation, or confrontation is getting a little bit intense. It's sort of either or. We'll look into this a little bit further. But interestingly, it might be that the new beginning is ready for you, but you're not ready for the new beginning, if that makes sense. Okay. In terms of the current position and where you're currently at, we have Pluto with rebirth, as well as Gemini with cross pollinate. Wow, okay. Um, I shuffled the cards in front of the camera, and I promise I shuffled them between the piles as well. The cross-pollinate card also came out in pile number one. So it might be somewhat interesting to you, especially because the signifier cards were also basically the same color scheme. So I did feel like there's a link straight away. One thing that I cannot unsee, and this might be just me being a Star Wars fan, or maybe Star Wars is relevant to you, but this mandala, because of the hands, always makes me think of um, the Falcon spaceship. Millennium Falcon? Can't remember the name now. Either way, the position that you're currently in is Pluto with Rebirth is a very dramatic card. It's like if you were to consider Scorpio energy and put it on steroids. Pluto is asking you to reevaluate or evaluate in the first place. Why are you here? What's your purpose? For the Rick and Morty ones of you, do you pass butter? Now, with Gemini and cross pollinate in the mix, it's also asking, do you think you're destined to not interact with others? Because cross pollination refers to being part of a community in a very wide sense, being part of the sort of human race and so on. You may either feel like you don't belong, or on the flip side, you may put too much stock into what other people think and feel. But I'm mostly feeling the first one, and there does seem to be quite a bit of stuck energy. Like, you might currently be spending a lot of time alone and avoiding confrontation, but you're blocking yourself from a new beginning, is what I'm seeing here. Now, what's the risk if things are to continue as they currently are? We have messages in reverse and Leo of Shine in reverse. Okay. Something that is also starting to make a little bit more sense. Also, look at the coloring of these two. But something that is starting to make a little bit more sense to me as well is that you are not necessarily looking at the situation how it really is. And what do I mean by that? With Scorpio in reverse and investigate, there's a need to look at the certain thing closer and get an actual proper idea of what's happening rather than sort of a vague idea. There might be something between you and other people that's a miscommunication. That's what messages in reverse are talking about, or you're at risk of miscommunicating with other people. Excuse me. We also have rose quartz with self-love and this stuck energy, and then in the risk section we get Leo with shine in reverse, which tells me that the risks are twofold. One, there might be some miscommunication happening. And two, on a very separate note, these two are very opposite. You have something within you that other people will appreciate, but you need to show it to them. So if you don't look at the situation with a critical eye, which for example could be thinking about what you're anxious about or where you don't want to try or where you're hesitant about, and go in, what is the actual worst thing that could happen here? For example, if you want to meet up with people from work to participate in an activity, I don't know, start a band or go and play pool in a bar, start a running club, whatever it is. If you put yourself out there, the worst thing that can happen in sort of realistic terms is that they might not want to participate. Nobody's going to think that you're an evil person because you want to start a running club. They might just be not interested. However, it might be that you will inspire someone to do something that they actually do want to do. You're potentially blocking yourself from your potential if you don't open up. I think there's also a risk of becoming frustrated because of your light not being seen. But people don't know what to look for if you don't point them in that direction. The cross-pollinate card and the Leo card also have sort of a similar coloring to them, which tells me that you do need to participate. If you don't participate, there's not going to be any spotlight. Moving into your current foundation, on what you're currently relying on, we have root with Imum Coeli and the 11th house with community. Right, okay, so this is interesting because it might be that in order to shine and in order to get sort of what you want and what you're looking for, you need to expand your community. But it's not like you're completely alone, you already have a community. Now, your community being paired with root tells me that the community that you currently have is based around people that you have known for a long time. It could be either your family, your friends in your hometown, and such. I can't help but focus on this hand on the top of this card here, pinching something, which makes me think of, in a pinch, you always have your childhood friend. But you don't have to be in a pinch. You can open up, you can make new friends. And it's not about leaving your old friends behind or leaving your family behind or anything like that. It's about expanding your circle. It's definitely a healthy thing to do. It's definitely beneficial. And you'd be surprised. maybe your oldest friend is going to be intrigued and is going to want to join whatever you're doing. Also, I'm sort of coming back to the Leo card. The risk here isn't that you're going to be forever sad or anything like that. The risk is that you're not going to shine. These people already know you. They already know what you can do, who you are. They have known you for so long that it would be difficult for you to surprise them. If you think, for example, about a sibling, if your sibling is trying, if you get along with your siblings and you know them pretty well, if they are trying something new and you had no idea they're doing it, and they will come up to you and say, "Oh, I'm trying this thing." I don't know about anybody else, but with my brother, every time my brother says that he's trying something new, it's both interesting because he's trying something new and also entirely unsurprising because it's so on brand for who he is. So I already know where he shines, but other people who have not met him yet don't. And from a perspective of a close one, I would love for him to meet other people and share his himself with, because he's great. And so I want other people to know that he is. I think this is what we're getting at here. So you have a great starting point. You have a really good sort of base of people around you. But is this what you're here for? Moving on, in terms of a warning. So this is something that you need to heed. We have Ceres with nurture, as well as fifth house with passion. Right, okay. I don't think I have ever seen a combination of cards that was clearer than this, considering the artwork and the meanings. Make sure that you're nurturing your passions. Beware of putting your passions on the back burner for whatever reason. This might also have to do with shine. So, are you, for example, a musician? Are you an artist? Are you any kind of creative? You might be trying to squash your creative talents because you don't want to share them with people. Now, there could be many reasons. It could be just that you think people will judge you. You could potentially think that maybe um, people that you have existing relationships with, whether friends or family, won't understand it, and so on, especially sort of these three cards are in a very similar coloring. So I am also wondering whether you're worried that your family and friends will be in opposition to your passions. But what this message is saying is that you shouldn't worry about this. What you should be aware of is hiding your light. Now, as for your last, as for your last card, or the last section, we've got what will be what will be of help and what you can trust. And that is Mars with motion and Midhaven with Pinnacle. So first and most importantly, with Mars in motion, not only is this a card of starting something and taking action, it's also a protective energy. So it talks about being protected, protecting your and yours, and so on. So it makes me think that actually your worries about the reaction of your community might be maybe not grounded. Maybe you need to investigate them a little bit more. You might have more people in your corner than you think. With Midhaven and Pinnacle in reverse, Pinnacle with Midhaven is related to career energy. So you might want to consider what you currently think about your place in the world and what you think is required of you, and re-examine those ideas. It's like you don't need to trust in the path that everyone is taking. You can carve out a space for creativity and a different path. I think most importantly, you need to give yourself a little bit more grace and a little bit more self-love. Nurture your passions, and then also allow yourself to open up to the people close to you and allow people to be in your corner. They won't know to be in your corner if they don't know that you have a corner, if that makes any sense. Okay. This is everything that I have for this. Thank you so much for watching, and if this was helpful whatsoever, feel free to leave a like or comment or subscribe, all of the things, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hi, pile number 3, and welcome to your reading. So, as mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be looking at a new journey or challenge that's in front of you, a new adventure challenge. Your significator card is Neptune with Vision in reverse. I'm going to pop it here on the side. Your crystal is the sodalite. There we go. I will be pulling 6 cards from each of the decks to tell us all about this new adventure or new challenge. So if you think about things that you're currently facing as I'm shuffling, that would be really helpful. This is Major Arcana inspired reading. So this is inspired by the Fool. So far I found this reading to be a little sassy, so prepare yourself for for that. There's a few things that we'll be looking at that are sort of a warning or a potential risk and so on, but we will finish on a positive note. Right? Go. No, excuse me. Now we will be pulling 6 cards from both of the decks, and these cards are quite large. I'm slowly starting to think I might need to rethink my setup to make more space for the cards, but this is going to have to, excuse me, wait a little bit. The bottom of the deck energy here is dignified strength in reverse. Okay. The satellite crystal, that's your significator, is one that supports sort of logical thinking. It's very Queen of Swords or King of Swords energy. And then Neptune with visions in reverse talks about how certain things could be illusions. So it'll be interesting to see the full context. The moon is popping out as well. Interesting. The deck is splitting significantly nicer than, for example, in pile number 1. So the messages are coming through a little bit easier. Okay. Wow, okay. And the bottom of the energy, bottom of the deck energy here is the Magician, which I will place here, squish it a little bit. Okay. It's interesting because Neptune in reverse talks about things that could be illusions rather than actual dreams. But then we've got the Magician, so you might be feeling like things are manifesting for you. Okay, looking at the what the actual new adventure is, or what the challenge is, we have Ascendant with entrance in reverse, as well as 7 of Wands. It's an interesting energy. So Ascendant in reverse talks about well, with the entrance energy of it, it talks about either choosing not to join something or not inviting something into your life. And 7 of Wands is a card of protecting your own. And with the sun behind the person, I'd say it's protecting your own happiness. So your new challenge or adventure could be deciding not to invite certain energies into your life anymore. Or, protecting yourself from certain energies. With your current position, we have Sagittarius with expansion in reverse, as well as King of Coins. This particular Sagittarius card also talks about being wary of geographical location, feeling like a cure for all. And this King of Coins is a slow moving card. By the way, not the sun, so it's like you're protecting something that you have built. And not only are you not inviting certain things into your life anymore, but you're also not stepping into a very adventurous energy. Sagittarius is the most sort of expansive but also adventurous sign of the zodiac, and in reverse, it could talk about being the opposite of that, especially with this King of Coins, which is a very earthy, stable, secure energy. So it sounds like you're currently in a secure position and you're staying put. I'm also noticing on these two cards that this is sort of during the night, this is during the day, so you might be currently resting ahead of some sort of a battle that you're preparing for. Or maybe you're gathering your strength to put boundaries in place. As for the risk or potential losses of this situation, we have Pisces with synthesize, and we have the world. Okay. It's looking pretty good. It's definitely a more positive reading than sort of the previous two. um so with Pisces in reverse and synthesize, it talks about not taking other people's ish on. So I think the risk in setting boundaries is that you won't have to deal with other people's stuff, basically. It might mean that you'll be a little bit removed from other people that you're currently connected with, which normally I would say this could be maybe partially negative, depending on who you're separating from. But with the world card here, it's bliss. Stepping back from certain energies is going to take you to the place where you want to be. I'm also being drawn to the fact that in this world card, the sky behind them here sort of looks like it's both day and night. It's either dawn or sunset. So it's merging those two energies that we talked about before in those two cards. So it sounds good to me. Sign me up. um, as for the foundations that you're relying on in this situation and things that you already have in place, we have Virgo with Digest and Knight of Cups in reverse. Okay. So with Virgo energy, it seems that your digesting comes after harvest, right? You're prepared. You have also probably thought through the situation with you've digested what's happening. Mm, you're organized. and sort of meticulous, things like that. It is also very much the opposite of Sagittarius, even though the coloring is sort of similar. With Knight of Cups, the thing that I'm noticing is that this horse on this card is standing ankle high in water. So I think what's sort of helping you, or the ground that you're building on, is that you're not the most easily swayed by emotions. So maybe you don't let your passions run deep, and you're not. It basically, it's like you're thinking through what you're doing rather than letting your emotions guide you, which seems to be working in this particular scenario. Very nice, very organized, very strategic, very logical. Love to see it. As for a warning or vulnerability, so this is something that could be a potential hole in the plan or something to take into account, a potential mistake. We have we have fourth house with home and death in reverse. Interesting. So it seems like the mistake that you could potentially make is to resist change. If you know what you need to do and how you want to do it, and you have a plan and so on, and that you now know this is going to be a positive change, then why would you not go ahead with it? It might also have something to do with trying to go against what you're doing, because we've just talked about sort of not expanding, being in this earthy, calm, collected energy, and we've got home in reverse. So the mistake would be to succumb to, for example, a geographical cure or traveling to cure whatever is ailing you, instead of just focusing on your environment, your home. It's like you need to clean up your environment rather than try to be in a different environment. All right. And then lastly, for what will help you in this situation, we have the moon with perception and four of cups in reverse. Right, okay. It's interesting because we have the Neptune with vision in reverse and then moon with perception upright. So it's nearly like what will help you is not looking at the visions and sort of, I'm thinking vision boards and so on, not necessarily thinking at that sort of thing, but perceiving what is actually right now happening around you. You already know what is on your vision board and what you want to achieve, but you need to analyze what is the current state so that you can make a plan on how to get from point A to point B. And you have the ability to do that. So what will help you is observing the things that are happening around you. Also, Four of Cups is, in this particular Four of Cups, snapping out of it a little bit, because when this one is upright, it talks about this ruler struggling to decide which mechanical bird to choose to replace the nightingale in the window. And in reverse, I'd say that the mechanical options are now on top. And so you're realizing that the things that you would like but you cannot have, you can replace them with something else. You're not beholden to things and people that are out of reach. Maybe you're learning that people and things that are unavailable are in fact unavailable. And so you're no longer trying to fix it. You're no longer trying to invite them in and sort of create a situation where that would be fine. You're perceiving what's happening as it's happening and reacting appropriately. Um, you're you're not rejecting things, situations, and people because of being grumpy or because of sort of negative mindset. You're choosing a different option. You're no longer focusing on things that are not for you. Overall, I gotta say, slay. it's it seems like you already have a very stable beginning. You're just improving the situation that you're already in. And we have the world card. It's all going to be fine. We've got the magician. You've got this. Um, Aside from the Fool card, which by the way is the inspiration for this video, the magician is number 1 and the world is number 21. You basically have the entire journey covered. I love this energy and there's so much positivity here. Um, Wishing you the best of luck, and yeah, definitely let me know in the comments what this is all about. I'm not seeing anything else here, so I'll leave it here. Thank you so much for watching. If this helped you in any sort of way, please do like, share, comment, all of the things. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.